The AI reckoning. AI is the fastest growing line item in history. Just that fact alone should tell you we are in for some major disruption. We're seeing the collapse in real time. This is the time to keep looking ahead. This is the time to build that thing you always wanted. This is what change feels like. It's uncomfortable. We are supposed to solve problems. For the little businesses out there, your job is to solve problems. And there are a lot of problems out there for you to solve. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mel DeWeese, and today we are diving into AI once again because out in the marketplace, I see some really big signs that the reckoning has begun. The AI reckoning. Where the hell is all the money going? Where did it go? Where is it disappearing to? What the leakage is, and how a lot of these companies have IP exposure and who owns what, who made what, and some of the risks that a lot of CFOs and executive C-suites aren't thinking about while they're using these technologies, and the collapse. What I believe we're seeing is a subscription model collapse, and we're getting repriced into a new environment, a tokenized environment, and I'll talk more about it later on in the video. So let's just dive right into it. So the AI spend reckoning and what CFOs can't see. And you may be thinking, Melissa, why do I care? Many CFOs simply don't know how to track AI spend and aren't in the trenches of this tech world to see how much has changed and all the transitions that have been going on. And up until this point, it has been relatively easy to track. Much of the spend has been monthly subscriptions for a lot of people. However, in the last 6 months, give or take, there has been a huge transition over to more API key costs in regards to AI. And that is with the release of agentic agents and people basically using AI in a more customizable way. And as that transition has occurred, the Anthropics and OpenAIs of the world have looked at how they're actually losing money. I don't know if you know this, OpenAI and Anthropic really aren't making any money at this point. Their goal is to do a bait and switch for everybody. They show you how great the technology is and up the price, up the price, up the price as demand increases. And there has been a huge price adjustment in the last 6 months. And I guarantee you over the next 6 months, you will see this in the balance sheets for publicly traded companies and private companies all over the world. So what we will talk about today is the spend, the leakage, and the collapse. All right, so let's dive in. The spend is where is the money going? Where is it evaporating to? The leakage is a leaking IP and exposure and who owns the data. And if you build a billion-dollar company on a Claude platform, who owns the company? And the collapse of the subscription model. And hopefully we are seeing signs of an ownership economy. This is to set the table. And this is really the synopsis of exactly what we will be going through today. Everyone invested, and then the bill arrived. All right. Everyone invested, then the price changed, and then the price changed again. The price went up 5x and the price went up 2.5x in a very short amount of time. They all read the same reports. All the executives read the same reports. They all invested in AI. They were all told it was the future. They all signed monthly subscriptions that they didn't understand. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have training for their employees to learn how to use these things in an effective way. They all had the hit. everyone's had the hit. The one workflow that finally worked, that was the aha moment for many of these companies. And many of these companies are continuing to chase those aha moments, which is great. Creativity is wonderful. However, when the CFOs get the bill, that is going to be another thing entirely. But to set the table, everyone is invested and the bill has arrived. Okay. The bill arrived and everyone's shocked. All right. We all knew that these AI companies weren't making money. Their plan was to give it all away for free until everyone used it and saw how great it was, and then charge them a little more, and then maybe a little bit more, and then maybe a little bit more. And since January 2026, the beginning of this year, just 6 months ago, we saw prices go from a lot of people doing $20 a month to $100 a month to $200 a month to some people are spending, $10,000 a month on these API keys. So all the reports read the same. They all invested. All these CEOs, CFOs saw the reports. They were being nudged to invest in AI, and they signed up for monthly subscriptions for all of their employees. Someone produced a quality of work they had never seen before, and new possibilities were endless, and the dopamine hits went all around. Okay. So many of these companies incentivized employees, okay, to use AI, but they incentivized the employees that used AI more. So the more tokens that they generated, the more often they prompted, those employees got rewarded. While the ones that were perhaps efficient and producing a better output maybe weren't incentivized as much in a weird way. And then costs over the last 2 quarters have just moved faster, I believe, faster than any CFO can track. Okay. And I believe that we will see huge cash flow constraints. And I think it will continue through the rest of 2026 because we've already got cash flow constraints because of inflation. And now this AI cost explosion has occurred. Okay. But this is the time to keep looking ahead. Okay. Don't look at the doomsday. Don't stare at the collapse day in and day out. Okay. Things are changing. We all know it's changing. We don't know exactly what that change is going to look like. But what we do know is that entrepreneurs and small businesses thrive when there are problems to solve. And entrepreneurs and small businesses can move faster than big businesses. And we will see quite a bit of disruption with big business in the next 6 months to a year, maybe 18 months. Okay. This is a change. This is what change feels like. And is it comfortable? No. But this is what we asked for. Okay. Many of us have been tired of the subscriptions. Many of us have been tired of these big companies taking over and dominating everything. The bad news is that there are a lot of problems. The good news is that there are a lot of problems. But Melissa, why is it good news? Why are problems good news? Well, problems are good news for problem solvers. And if you're a problem solver, this is your time. Just look ahead. Look at the problems, solve the problems day in and day out, because there are a lot of problems out there. And the spend is incredible. So they incentivize. So to encourage people to use these AI products, many companies incentivized employees who used it the most, not necessarily the ones that used it well, but those who spent the most or had the most token use, because it didn't matter at that time how many tokens someone used or how many prompts they gave these things. Just tracking usage and rewarding those that used it the most. And as costs switched over to per token, costs move faster than most CFOs could track or move fast enough to stop the bleed. So cash flow constraints will continue. And I will start by breaking down what I mean in section 1, which is the spend. The numbers are staggering. The growth is unprecedented. The gap between investment and measured impact has never been wider. So AI is the fastest growing business item in history, and it's exponential. Let me just pause right here. AI is the fastest growing line item in history. Just that fact alone should tell you we are in for some major disruption. 2.59 trillion global AI spend forecasted for 2026. That's up from 47% year over year. And I would just add that 2026 is not over, and these numbers are exponential. For anyone who uses AI on a regular basis, you will understand that costs have changed significantly since January 1st of 2026. And we're only halfway through the year. And I'm seeing headlines here pop up over here and here and here talking about inflation. CFOs are already dealing with cash flow issues from regular inflation. 644 billion global generative AI spending in 2025. That was a jump from 76% from the year before that. And 37 billion enterprise Gen AI spend in 2025. That was up 3.2 times from the prior year. And 50.4% of US businesses now pay for AI. That crossed over 50% in March of 2026. With AI adoption, we saw people personally adopt AI, and there were the few that were early adopters. And people slowly started using the chat bots more and more and more. Really, in 2026, a lot of companies' initiatives were to add AI to their organization workflows. Okay, and that's over 50% now. So we saw quite a big adoption in 2026. What quarterly earnings reveal? So there are 4 hyperscalers that are spending as much as nations. Okay, Amazon, $200 billion. Alphabet, $180 billion. Meta, almost $140 billion. Microsoft, always the cheap one, 140. No, I'm sorry. No, not 140. They're only $120 billion. And this is directly from the CEO of Amazon in Q1 2026's earnings call. Quote, "We've never seen a technology grow as rapidly as AI. This AI revenue run rate is over 15 billion, nearly 260 times larger than AWS at the same age." The metric CFOs struggle to track with AI costs. Why is this such a big problem? Because CFOs are accustomed to fixed costs when it comes to technology. They've grown accustomed. First, everybody was used to you buy the software, you own the software forever from now until the end of time. That's how it used to be in the 90s. You used to buy, or the early 2000s, you used to buy your Windows, you used to buy your Photoshop, you used to buy your video editing tool. And between that and today, every single software is a subscription model. They want reoccurring revenue. And the CFOs are now used to paying a flat dollar amount either every month or yearly, save 20% if you buy yearly. So they have these yearly subscriptions that renew with their technology. And CFOs have been accustomed to this fixed fee for technology. And they are discovering that expenses are becoming more and more volatile and harder to forecast as they're building their own agents. So say goodbye to predictable IT bills. That's from the Wall Street Journal, the CFO of the Journal. Then we get down to the 4 blind spots and how CFOs track AI. So 95% pilots that go nowhere. So this MIT study looked at 300 deployments. They found 95% of generative AI pilots delivered no measurable P&L impact. 35 to 40 billion was invested with very little to show for it. And the other problem is that employees are using AI outside of what is sanctioned by their employer. They're using their own tools. And that's called shadow AI. So it's usually referred to in security. Employees are using these outside tools and leaking company information. And 38% of employees are using unauthorized AI tools. Over 90% of workers are using shadow AI independently. And not only is that a security issue, it's also a cost issue because that CFO doesn't know how much a project is truly costing. All right. About 40% productivity loss to reworking. For every 10 hours AI saves, about 4 are spent fixing its output. So you enter in a prompt, it gives you 80% of what you asked for, and you have to iterate until it gives you what you want. And only 14% of employees are consistently getting a net positive after that rework. So not every employee is having this consistent output. And that is one of the issues that we're seeing with AI projects is that the output isn't very consistent. It doesn't always look exactly the same every time. It makes something, you can put in the same prompt today, and then tomorrow it may give you a different output than it did today. So 85% of organizations misestimate AI project costs by more than 10%. And that's fine if you're in a subscription-based environment. However, and I believe that 10% was because they might have needed additional subscriptions they didn't know, or the subscription only gave you a certain amount of tokens per se, per month. And as you get through the project, you go, oh my gosh, I need another 30,000 tokens. So you go and you buy those for $50 or $100 or whatever that platform lets you buy tokens for on top of your subscription if you're a high user, and not a big deal. It was 10% of the cost. But now that we're driving towards it's all token based, like a meter on your electrical meter, prices could drive up 24 times. It could surge that much by 2030 by some of these estimates. AI has become the easiest spend to approve. Many teams have intentionally labeled a purchase as an AI initiative to fast track it for the CFO to sign off on. AI has become the budget loophole of 2025. And that was from a survey of 1,500 finance, IT, and business leaders. And this is coming from Embers. And I can give you the link to this presentation. You can see all of my references here. So section 2, the leakage. When you create on someone else's platform, who owns it? The answer exposes businesses to IP risk, and IP risk is almost never priced in. Your IP can leak in moments just by entering a prompt. Okay, employees are out there, they're using all these tools, whether you sanction it or you don't, whether it hits your privacy protocol or it doesn't. Many of them have private subscriptions. And many companies have had IP leakage, like Samsung's engineers reportedly pasted proprietary semiconductor source code into ChatGPT. All right. They have an internal ban on using ChatGPT for that very reason. So, trade secret forfeiture. Data entered without protective measures may cease to be legal trade secrets. Okay. That's pretty crazy. And cross-contamination is another one. Models fine-tune on confidential documents can reproduce specific names or phrases when queried by others. And training absorption is another pitfall. Many tools refine future models on prompt history. So your trade secrets, if one of your employees puts trade secrets in there, it could be served up as an answer to one of your competitors. Okay. So your IP can leak in the moment it enters the prompt. The employee pastes proprietary code, contracts, or customer information into an AI tool. Once it's submitted, that data is logged, cached, and retained outside of your control. Cross-contamination. Models fine-tuned on confidential documents can reproduce specific names or phrases when queried by other users. Okay. Training absorption. Many tools refine future models on prompt history. Your trade secrets could be served up as an answer in a competitor's query. So, cautionary precedent, Samsung engineers reportedly pasted proprietary semiconductor source code into ChatGPT, prompting an internal ban. So, case study on Suno. Can you own the song and still hold no copyright? I find music particularly interesting because I did not foresee that music would be one of the categories that AI would be able to be useful in, for one. So it shocked me that it was actually pretty good. And then number two is all of the philosophical questions over if an AI is trained on all of the music of the world or on specific artist songs, and then the AI recreates a song based off of a popular artist song. Is it the popular artist voice? Is it similar to that artist voice? Where's the line for stealing that artist's voice or the way they play a guitar, or the way they play a bass or play the drums, right? And we saw this similar pattern with Napster for us 80s and 90s kids when the internet came along and we were able to download all the songs. And so instead of getting your tape and putting it in your stereo and waiting for your favorite song to come on the radio and hitting record and getting it on your tape, your cassette tape, now we could go on the internet, download this thing called Napster, and download the songs from each other online and get it for free and not have to pay $20 for the album. So teenagers loved it. A similar disruption happened in the case of Napster. And now with AI, I see a parallel over here with these song generating AIs like Suno. And it has been interesting for me to watch how that plays out. So Suno can generate outputs substantially similar to copyrighted records, from Mariah Carey to Chuck Berry. A business using AI music for commercial content bears that downstream exposure, even if the platform settles its own training data lawsuits. And the gap that exposes businesses: US copyright protects only human authored work. Music made 100% with AI cannot be copyrighted. Writing the prompt isn't authorship. So this is very important for you to understand. If you go and you make a song with AI, or you build a software with AI, or you build a website, you build a book, write a book using AI. If it goes to court, let's say you write a book using AI and it goes to court because it made $1 million. Nobody's going to care if it makes $10, but let's say it's a hit. It makes some money and people are wanting to take some of what they believe is theirs. And you get sued over it because it sounds like another writer's work. Or perhaps the AI company is claiming now that because you use their platform, they get some of that money that you made off of it. Okay, all these things can happen. Anybody can sue anybody for anything at any time, really. And while I'm on that topic, let me just say the disclaimer that I am not a legal professional. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is my legal disclaimer. I am not a legal professional. This is not legal advice. Nothing I say should be taken as financial advice, medical advice, or any advice at all, because this is a YouTube video. And if you're taking any kind of financial advice or medical advice or any kind of advice at all off of YouTube, you got big problems. This is not any advice at all. In fact, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. With that out of the way, writing a prompt isn't authorship, according to a lot of laws that I've read through and just briefly looked at. If you go and write a book and it makes $1 million, and an author that writes similar or claims that you stole their style or their idea, or the AI repackaged their idea, or maybe even rewrote their idea and you didn't know, or the AI company that helped you generate it now says it's partially owned by them, because their agent helped you generate it to make all the money that you made. So now they want to cut. These things can happen. And if you show up to court and the only thing that you did was write 5 sentences into a prompt, and if you had all used anybody's name, like write like a certain company, a production company, write like a certain author, sound like, put a somebody's specific name, a specific book title, all of these things will not look good and you will probably lose. Okay. Because if all you're doing is writing a prompt and you're asking it to copy other people's work, you will likely lose. Okay. So if you are building with AI, just keep all of this in mind, what the risks are. Okay. And do you really own it? Do you have your fingerprint on it? Are you using it as an editor when you're writing? That's fine, right? As long as you are injecting and iterating and rewriting it. Or if you own your own AI and you're using your own local models, number 3 is the collapse. So we're watching the collapse. It's happening right before our eyes. And AI is repricing the subscription economy. There used to be a time where you could walk into your local computer store and buy, or department store, and buy a software. And it was yours. That was it. You just bought it and you walked out and you had a floppy disk and it was yours forever. Now we've been transitioned over to be used to a subscription model. Okay. And the subscription economy is going away. It will be monitored in tokens. It will be monitored by usage in many of these cases. And it's very interesting how a lot of these businesses are handling that, because today a lot of enterprise software is seat-based pricing. So seat-based pricing, the number of seats that these companies are used to getting paid for fell. So SaaS companies, they're having higher churn than they've ever seen before in their subscription models. So instead of paying for 20 seats, imagine paying for one. And then your AI agent is sitting at the top delivering the value to the other 19. All right. So this seat model is under pressure. So 95% of that revenue for those companies that have these enterprise seat models will likely disappear by some estimates. 5 big moves before the next cycle. So many CFOs and CEOs are looking to build AI-specific P&L sheets, govern the shadow, do an inventory of the tools that people are actually using. 60 to 70% of organizations carry a shadow AI exposure where employees are using AI tools and they don't know it. They don't know. And measure outcomes, not time saved. So tie spend to accelerated goals and output instead of headcount, and find that 14%. So there were a couple of studies I've seen where employers are seeing that only 5% of their employees are getting high quality of work done with AI. There's this 14% to 5% of the staff that are really taking to AI and they understand it perhaps more than their colleagues, and they're able to prompt in a better way, a more efficient way. And when you find those people within your organization, use them and have them teach the other employees within the organization. Treat AI output as unowned until proven otherwise. So if you are selling a book, if you're building a book in it using AI, or you're building a software or something that you plan on selling or repurposing or making money off of in the market, document your process and make sure that you can show and defend yourself and show the work that you put into that product. Otherwise, you may lose a court case. Pressure test your own subscription mode. So ask, could a free good enough AI replace this core value? If yes, reprice towards that outcome. So looking at other models, other solutions like local models, and investing in your own hardware rather than just sticking on a subscription is highly recommended. This is what change feels like. Okay, a lot of us have asked for change. A lot of us have been tired of being stuck in a lot of these subscription models. And this is what change feels like. Okay. The spend is real and the cost is moving faster than we all were ready for. The law hasn't settled on who owns what when you're making things with AI. And so the subscription economy is being repriced right in front of our eyes. It is uncomfortable. It's also exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to just keep moving forward and keep solving problems. And there are a lot of problems out there. And hopefully we are seeing signs of an ownership economy. Hopefully an ownership economy will stand as the foundation after all of this shakes out. So with that, thank you for hanging out until the end. Please like the video, subscribe, make a comment, share, hype. If you're interested in learning more about AI and how to build with ownership and self-reliance in mind, I do belong to a Discord community. I will put the link down below. It's 100% for free. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Strings were never mine to hold. Did I ever really have any control? Did I plan anything at all? Did I really do anything at all? The strings were never mine to hold. Did I ever really have any control? Let the leather see if it holds. God bless whatever's real, pay the toll. I find myself in a new place, my wonderland's on the grass. I blink, trying to clear my eyes. Am I seeing clearly? Is this